Hello everyone, welcome back to Speaking Spurs and me, Kieran, talking all things Tottenham. Just back with another update of everything that's happened over the last few days, and obviously we can't avoid it. We'll start with the story that's broke on Sky Sports, which I think was brought by Fabrizio Romano first. Man City have offered 100 million for Kane and have said that there will be players included. So, Daniel Levy wanted 175 million for Kane, but there's been talks of 150 million. So City have offered 100 million, and there's talks of player inclusions, which could be Sterling, Laporte, Jesus. They're the three that were spoken about a while ago as well. And apparently we're going to turn it down. Obviously, Levy wants to try his best to convince Kane to stay, and we can't blame him. We all want Kane to stay as Tottenham fans, of course we do. The other problem is, are any of those players going to want to come to Spurs? You think about it, right? City have had an outrageous season. Made it to cup finals, won trophies, won the league. Why would they want to then come to Spurs to play Europa Conference League football? I mean, if they're going to leave Man City, you'd think they'd either sign for another Premier League team that are within the top four at the moment, or potentially move to one of the other foreign leagues where they're going to play Champions League football, essentially. So with this bid, like 100 million does seem a bit low, but when you actually factor in Sterling's probably worth 60 million, so it's essentially a 160 million pound offer for Harry Kane, which you'd think we should take it. Problem is, you're then going to have to spend a whack of money to sign two strikers, essentially, because we've never had a backup to Kane that's really worked properly. So you've then got to sign two strikers, one of which is going to be your main man, so you're probably looking at 60 million there, but there's other positions we also need to cover as well, and the players we're going to sell aren't going to get as much money. You know, players like Sissoko, Lamela, Harry Winks, possibly one of our centre-backs, Alderweireld is ageing, so he's not going to command a big fee. I don't think anyone's going to want to pay a big fee for Eric Dyer, and Sanchez it's an awkward situation because of how much we signed him for. So, Sterling I don't think wants to come anyway, and I don't see why he would. I think he could probably command a Champions League place somewhere else. Jesus is probably the most realistic of the three mentioned. Problem is, he's not really set the world alight, and he's been given opportunities at Manchester City. There's always rotation up top with them. Like Aguero hasn't played loads and loads of football in his final year. And at times City have actually gone with no recognised strikers instead of using Jesus. So you've had Jesus and Aguero sitting on the bench, and there's been unrecognised players playing up top. He's essentially just playing with attacking midfielders. So yeah, Jesus is probably the most realistic, but we still have to bring in a number one striker. I think he'd be a good backup, but then I would want the price to go up. Instead of 100 million, I'd probably want 120, 130 million to kind of bridge the gap there. Laporte, I wouldn't say no to Laporte. I think he's worth 50 million. So I'd say give us 110 million and Laporte, and it's a possibility. But again, I don't think Laporte's going to want to come to Spurs. I think he's going to want Champions League football. It's not even like they're stepping down to the Europa League. It's Europa Conference League. It's two steps down. So it'll be an interesting one to see how it plays out. But I think Daniel Levy is going to want cash. My only issue is last time we sold a player for a lot of cash, Gareth Bale, we didn't do too well with that money, did we? So money burning a hole in our pocket, I don't think is a good thing to have. We'll see what happens. I think it puts us in a dangerous position because Daniel Levy is hard to deal with, and he's not going to want a penny less than what he asks for. So this one could drag on for a long time. Now, the danger is that if Harry Kane does leave, and it's quite late in the transfer window, it's another position where we're leaving ourselves very little time to sign a striker. So I don't know. Disappointed if it does happen, but this is probably his last chance to get a big move, and be guaranteed to be the top man, really. So we'll see how that one plays out. But Kane has said, any decision that he makes is going to be after the Euros, which is fair enough. He's captain. He hasn't scored yet. I don't really think it's his fault. I think he's getting way too much criticism because the support he's had has been shocking. I mean, I don't think Sterling even knows where he is on the pitch. Mason Mount has been a bit greedy on the ball as well, driving through the centre. So, yeah, I think he's been harshly criticised, although he does look a little off the pace. What else have we got here? Okay, so right backs. Aurier obviously has the agreement that if the right offer comes in, he can go. Doherty obviously underperformed last season, but obviously that was down to him playing out of position. He's not a natural right back. He's very attacking, so we will need someone to come in as backup for him or someone in front of him. And the two possibilities, Max Aarons at Norwich is somebody we are very much interested in. So he's 21, will cost about 30 million. Obviously, he's had a season in the Premier League before, so he's got Premier League experience. He's just had a promotion campaign with Norwich. The only problem with that is they've just lost Buendia to Aston Villa, which I think was a great move for him. In terms of Aston Villa are a club that are really on the rise again, and he will probably get a decent chunk of game time because they had Barkley on loan for the season, and although he started well, he drifted off as the season went on. So I think Buendia is a great midfielder to get in for them, although at the same time I'm a little bit annoyed that Buendia's got promoted with Norwich and he's not even going to have a season with him in the Premier League. I always find that stuff a bit disrespectful. Like, give him a season, or at least give him till January. And if you're down there and you don't fancy it, then get your move. But, so yeah, I don't think they're going to want to lose Aarons as well because he's another one of their star players. The other player we're looking at is Tariq Lamptey at Brighton, who started the season really well. I think he's actually played less than 20 games for Brighton in the first team. And it's looking like they're going to command 50 million. Now, he's 20 years old, so he's a year younger than Aarons, has got less Premier League experience, but he's going to cost 20 million more. I don't know if Daniel Levy is going to want to pay that money out. It's written already, isn't it? If he's going to go for one of the two, if they're his options, he's going to push for Aarons first because 20 million is a sizable chunk difference, and obviously we need one or two centre-backs. We're going to need a striker or a backup striker. So, Lamptey's a good player. He looked very, very good. He obviously, he started the season well. Then it was a hamstring injury he picked up, and it really hampered his season. But look, he looks a really good player. He's been under the stewardship of Graham Potter, which by now you all know I'm a fan of. So yeah, that's interesting. Either one of them two I'd be happy with. But I think for the money, I think Aarons is probably the better option. Although I kind of want Lamptey. He looks really good. But either of those I'd be happy with. So if we now talk striker options, apparently Paratici is looking at 21-year-old Dusan. Now I'm going to get this wrong probably. Vlahovic. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it. If you know phonetically, put it in the comments for me so I get it right, because I feel like these links are going to grow and intensify as time goes on. So he's 21 years old. He got 21 goals in Serie A last year. That's just in the league. 21 goals for the 21-year-old. He's got 2 years left on his contract. There are quotes that it will be 60 million they're looking for, which is about 51.4 million. Now that's not a huge fee to ask, really, for such a talented youngster who plays international football for Serbia. So that is one to keep an eye on. Looks like he could be a great star for the future. Would not say no to him coming in. I think that's it, really, for possible incoming players. A little bit on Marcus Edwards. So we sold Marcus Edwards to the Portuguese team, Vitória, and he's done well there. Hasn't actually got many goals and assists. I think he got 1 assist and maybe 3 goals, but his gameplay has been very good. And Sporting Lisbon want him. Now, this is a story that actually broke a few weeks ago, but there's been a twist in it now. So we had a 50% sell-on clause, and I think it's about 10.3 million pounds that the deal would be, which means we would receive just over 5 million. However, apparently that sell-on clause is creating a bit of a problem. I think Vitória essentially want more money because they don't want to sell the player and only get 5 million for him, which is understandable. So apparently Daniel Levy is trying to work his magic, and there's a possibility that what will happen is we waive our 50% sell-on clause fee with Vitória. So Vitória would get the whole 10.3 million. And then what would happen is our sell-on clause of 50% will then apply to Sporting Lisbon. Now, it's risky, but Edwards is on the rise. He's playing very well out there, highly thought of. So if he goes to Sporting Lisbon, once he leaves Lisbon, if the 50% sell-on clause is there, say he goes for 25 million, then it's a masterstroke. It's genius. And 5 million is not a mass amount of money, especially, considering what players go for these days. So 5 million to us isn't really of mass importance. I know we need a little bit of money at the moment, but Daniel Levy has restructured the loan. So what happened there is we had to pay back the loan within a certain time frame, but he's actually taken out another loan with an American bank to cover the loan in England. It's a much bigger loan, which will help us with other financial constraints we've had, because I think we actually had a loan with this bank in America that we've got the loan from. So the loan will pay off the loan in England. It will pay off the loan over there. It will give us a little bit of money to play with just until we start getting revenue back from the stadium, once the fans are back in there and they can hold events and whatnot. So financially, it will put us somewhere near where we were before the pandemic. It'll allow us to, sort things out. And so that 5 million is less important now, which makes it a clever idea to put the 50% onto the sell-on fee for later days. Because if he continues his rise and maybe earns a move to a bigger club in Europe, we could be looking at a decent return there on a player that didn't really cost us a lot. We've got rid of him for peanuts, and we could get big money back in. So, clever move. And that's pretty much that for player news. We'll just talk about players at the Euros. Joe Rodon is having a really good time with Wales. He's looking solid at the back, and I would expect him, if we're going to be playing 3 at the back with centre-backs next season, I would certainly hope to see Rodon in there somewhere, getting a decent chunk of game time. He's looking absolutely solid. Gareth Bale's looking good as well, but I don't think he's going to be coming back. It's going to be very hard to get him back. Ancelotti loves him, so I would probably think that he'll play his last season out in Real Madrid, which is a shame because us as fans would have loved to have had him play for us, like for a full season in front of everyone. But it is what it is. Celso as well, out in playing for Argentina in the Copa America. He's looking very good as well, with Messi just a bit further forward in front of him. His gameplay has been fantastic, which is strange because he looked, for us when he come back from injury, certainly quite weak. He looked fatigued in the games. His passing was dreadful, considering how good he can be on the ball. It was dreadful, but he's looking good, and this could really build his confidence when he comes back ready for next season. Could be an important player for us, and we know he's got a lot of talent. There was people asking for him to be sold, and I just think based on his age and how good his potential is, way too early to let him go. So could come back and be a big player for us next season. What else? Oh yeah, managers. Of course we need to talk about managers. Obviously everything keeps falling apart. So the current front runner is Nuno Espirito Santo, the former Wolves manager. Now the problem we've got here is Daniel Levy promised us, and this was before he knew Paratici was coming in. He done that end of season message for the last home game in the programme and stuff, talking about how we've kind of come away from, the traditions of Spurs and we need to get back to that. They wanted a manager to come in that plays with the attacking flair that we like, will use the modern techniques with the sports science guys that Pochettino brought in with him, and kind of work in that mould. Paratici's come in, and it seems like that list of managers that we had, Paratici just wants to do the complete, not opposite, but he's a firm believer of building from a solid foundation. So he wants to sort the defence out first and then build attack from there. Which is, it's quite far apart from what Levy wanted. So you've essentially got these two ideals. And I think the reason we're struggling with this manager search is because we're trying to mash what both of them want together, which essentially is trying to create the perfect manager, which if they can do it, great. But who the hell is that? I mean, I have no idea. But yeah, Nuno apparently is the front runner. He's somebody that Paratici likes. It's quite interesting because he's got quite close links with Mendes, the agent. And that's who Nuno is represented by. Which is also, I think, who Gattuso is represented by. And who else? Ernesto Valverde. So the former Barcelona and Athletic Bilbao manager is somebody that apparently we were linked with before Fonseca. Not much was said in the press, but that's someone we were certainly looking at. And I feel that would be a better option and a better fit for us if we can get him in. He plays a better brand of football. He's obviously had the experience of being with Barcelona, so he knows a big club mentality. And I think all round it's just a better fit for what we're looking for. So we'll see how that one plays out. But I'm sure we'll be linked with 50 million other managers before we get somebody in. So I'll just finish on a slightly brighter note because obviously management talk frustrates us. Gareth Bale did an interview and he was talking about players that surprised him the most at Spurs, and that man was Tanguy and Bale. He's come out and essentially said some of the things that guy can do with the ball is unreal and has likened him to Ronaldinho. Not saying he's on par with Ronaldinho, but saying, he reminds him of Ronaldinho, the things he can do with the ball. So that, if he can fulfill that potential on the pitch, we are looking at one hell of a player. I mean, I love Ndombele, the way he ghosts around people. His footwork is insane. He just kind of dances around. He just needs to work on toughening up a bit, not sulking as much when he goes to the floor, get up quickly, show a bit of passion and hunger. And he's going to have a point to prove for next season because obviously he was left out of the Euro squad for France. So I think that potentially could light a fire under his belly or go the other way and he just becomes a bit miserable and depressed at the whole situation and essentially blames Ryan Mason for not really playing him much. But hopefully it's the former, and he gets a firework up his backside and proves to the world just how good a player he is. So that's the note I want to end it on. Thanks for sticking around. Remember to like, subscribe and comment. Channel, again, is growing massively. I think we're at 250 subscribers now. So, growing. Thank you, guys. I tell you what, the comments are fantastic. Some of the ones I've had in the Facebook pages this week are quite funny. Someone was saying apparently Daniel Levy is in the North Pole talking to Santa Claus at the moment because he's tried everybody else apart from the Easter Bunny if that doesn't work out. So, there's a good bit of banter floating about, and I know it's a frustrating time for us as Spurs fans, but stay positive, guys. We'll have a little laugh. Talk to me in the comments about who you would prefer over Aarons or Lamptey. If you want to see Ernesto Valverde come in as manager, hit the video with the thumbs up. And that'll give me an idea on that. And if you want Nuno, just type Nuno in the comments below so I can just gauge where we're at. But yeah, let me know your comments, guys, on everything and anything. Stuff you want me to talk about. So I am going to do my next video. Well, I said I was going to do the video on the England games. And I've actually decided I'm going to structure it differently to how we do the Tottenham reviews. I normally do, obviously, a game-by-game review. But I think with England, I'm going to do a summary of the group stage. Then I'm also going to do a video on all of Tottenham's players that are currently at the Euros. And I'll also talk about how Lo Celso's getting on, and Davinson Sanchez, because he's put in a couple of good performances for Colombia. So I'll talk about all Spurs players. So there'll be the next couple of videos to look out for, unless we get a manager in and there's another update on that, or any play-up movement. So thanks for sticking around, guys. Take care of yourselves, and as always, come on you Spurs.